And Sasha, I'm really glad that after COVID, you were still able to play an 18-year-old. When COVID started, I had hair, so that would have been a bigger change than. Thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Iain Glen and Sasha Luss, who I think are both the first of their names, talking about The Last Front, which is coming to theaters on August 9th, 2024. It is a World War I drama that looks at the effect of war on one village and what those villagers will do when pushed a little bit too far. It has a great setting, a fantastic cast, and some really nice action. So I'm very excited to talk to you, and thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thank you,
So,
David.
first question, how did you get involved in this film? I guess we'll start with Sasha. How did you get involved in this film?
Um, I got a script and and you read it and you love it and you you kind of feel like can I do justice to the story and to this character? And then you read it a few times again and then you were like, you know what, I'll try to do my best. And then I had a meeting with Julian and we're sort of talking about, like his ideas and how he want to film it and what the cinematography going to be. And I mentioned a film that not many people know, and it's a movie about the Second World War. And he was like, "Yes, that's exactly what I wanted to capture because it's like a scene of a young boy in the beginning of the sort of the Second World War, and then he goes through like 4 days, and his eyes, like the eyes of this boy, he's like an old man,
Oh, no.
and it was such a poignant movie to watch, and the fact that Julian knew about it and that it also kind of inspired him to do this story, that was like, okay, we're in really good hands. And I was like, I am on board.
That is
And
perfect.
here we are.
That is perfect. 'Cause usually when I make obscure movie references, no one knows them. So it's amazing that you both had that same thought in your
You feel
mind.
like you feel this connection. You're like, okay, you're my kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. Iain, how did you get involved in this film? How early on did you
Yeah,
sign on?
well, it's similar. It's always a script that comes in. It's that it's that dream email you get through thing. Being asked to do this, and you read the script, and when I read scripts and they're good scripts, I kind of start to get funny butterflies, and I think, please stay strong as a script. Don't kind of go down. I start projecting ahead. I wouldn't like it if it did this, and I wouldn't like it if it did that, and I wouldn't like it if my character was asked to, and all the way through. And it's a sign that the script is getting hold of me, and so I really liked it, and then I had a sort of Zoom meeting with Julian, and we talked about it. Sort of forget now, but we were kind of curtailed by COVID, and so there was a time we were about to get up and running, and the whole thing, and it was really quite a late plug that was pulled, and that was quite devastating because you kind of you do make an emotional commitment to something once you're sort of there and you've agreed to do it, and I think I don't want to lie, but I think we'd done costume fittings. I can't remember, but it was quite far in the process. And then it was about whether it would it'd come round again, and thank goodness it did. And you'll get very reassured, the moment you go for those costume fittings, and they're so good. And seeing the sets, everything was so beautifully kind of portrayed that it was an easy world in the end to inhabit because the group there in Belgium, the crew was fantastic.
That's all. I'm also glad that this didn't get curtailed because I remember I talked to Julian just now, and I think they were going to start filming like 2019, somewhere around there, and then something happened that kind of curtailed that. So,
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny. It's like it shouldn't be the case, but these movies often that are kind of on these sort of smaller mid budgets and need finance for various territories that are harder to kind of to gel and make happen, and they're more vulnerable. And the world is ever changing, and
Mhm.
it's changing now. It's been very strange post COVID and post strike. I think everyone thought the whole, everything's going to come back in spades, but it's been a disconcerting period for lots of people. And so you can't, particularly on this type of independent film, you can never guarantee it until it's only when you're about 3, 4 days into filming, you think, well, you know. I think it's happening. I think we're there. It's going to be hard for it to fall now. Otherwise, that people are going to be really, really burnt.
Yeah, at the very least, you can make a short out of it,
Yeah.
right? You've got some
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
No, but
So,
you know, like you guys are laughing, but my character in the movie is 18 years old. And you know, and we postponed in the movie and postponed in the movie and postponed in the movie, and I'm not getting younger. And I was like, Julian, if we're not gonna start filming soon, I'm gonna be playing my mother. Like, let's do something.
well,
Honestly, I so admire, you know, as actors, we come on at the 11th hour, and you know, Sasha went through a more prolonged agony than I did. I think I was quite late to the party relatively, but for the filmmakers, for the guys who write the freaking thing,
Oh
you
yes.
know, to pull that finance together and think you got there and think you've got it over the line, and then for something, it was like it was COVID, I think, in the certainly in the final one where the insurance sort of said they would cover COVID and then pulled out at the last minute, and it's catastrophic, heartbreaking, you know. So all my feelings of disappointment were absolutely mitigated by thinking, well, God, goodness knows what the producers and the director feels currently. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And Sasha, I'm really glad that after COVID, you were still able to play an 18-year-old. When COVID started, I had hair, so that would have been a bigger change than.
No, but you know what I mean, and it's like
Yeah,
as much as you know, I would like to stay forever young, or maybe actually I wouldn't, but you want to be real, you know, to what your character is and capture the truth. And you know, if the character is 18, you gotta you gotta be kind of, you know, somewhat 18. But in my head, I was like, it was 1914. They didn't have the same beauty routine as we have now, so
yeah.
maybe the fact that it looked a bit rougher around the ages is fine. But
Life
I
was harder
agree with
back then.
Ian. But I agree with Ian that I mean, I remember getting a call from Julian when he was like, guys, I'm so sorry, but it's not gonna happen this time. And you feel, of course you feel sorry for yourself, but then you immediately think of like, damn, because that's his baby, you know, that's the story he really wants to tell, and he was so close. So I'm so happy that we're having this interview, and the movie is made and it's great. So
Yeah, no, for sure. This is a long journey that this film took. So, Sasha, if you can remember back then, other than seeing like obscure movies, what did you do to prepare for this role? Was there any kind of reading or research that you had to do to kind of like get into this mindset? Because this is probably a very different role than you played before.
yeah, you know, like for me, it was more like what Louise's life was in 1914, because we're talking 100 years ago, you know, the world
Mhm.
was extremely different. And I'm not just talking about appearance, but we're talking when the girl couldn't really choose her life that you know that much. Like her parents have decided, and there is a moment in the movie when she's like, but that's not what I want. And her father, and not because he is bad or wrong, he that's just how the world was, you know, like he decides and he's telling her no. But that was the change. It's when the change happened, because the First World War historically brought suffragists, you know, we were able to vote, you know, like in everything as women. So probably like Louise in a way captures this kind of time change. And I just wanted to know more like what her life was and what she was going through, what was her education, what was her mannerism, how would she walk, because it's different, you know. Even like there is such thing. I remember one actor saying okay on set, like during um, one of the scenes, and we're like, no, people were not saying okay. And actually, I think the actor was me, as a matter of fact. But that's what I'm saying, because we're so used to being us, and you know, in our like modern reality. But the world was very different. What stayed the same is just the spirit and bravery, and you know, like just heroism. That stayed. That's universal.
For sure. Now, Ian, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is, you know, the one of the final scene in the field. For lack of a better term, that the kids would say is that scene was fire. I love that scene. What was it
Yeah, yeah.
like? Like literally fire. What was that? What was it like filming that scene? And you know, how cool was that to like do that at night? And I don't know if the fire was, I assume the fire was real, but I don't know if maybe that was CG also.
Yeah, no, it was all real. It was all real. It was amazing, really. It was a sequence of night shoots that we did over a period, and they got this piece of ancient woodland. I don't know how they managed to get permission to shoot in there, but we were in this area for a week or so, when you have our caravan of villagers who are escaping, there's quite a lot of traveling sequences that are involved this with, and there's this huge clearing that we shot the sequence in. Yeah, and it was proper. These things can, they're dangerous, and they had fire lines all around the place. We were given a big talking to begin with about the safety aspect of it, and. Yeah, I would say, there was so much of the film that were these intimate interiors and inside the church and inside the farmstead and the doctor's house and stuff. And this was, there's 2 or 3 sort of big blow up sequences, of which that was probably the most major. And so it definitely has a very different feel while you're shooting that. And I thought they managed it very, very well. They had multi-cameras. They had they brought cranes in for that day. They kind of put all singing, dancing onto the production, and they really sectioned it. It's not a massive budget film, so they have to be very precise about where they're going to spend their money and how they're going to spend their money. So there was that, and in amongst that sequence, we have the big set piece sort of fight between me and Joe Anderson's character. And that was that kind of weird, just a sort of secret about that sequence was Joe and I had rehearsed it, and we'd rehearsed it quite hard, and both of us are quite into a stage fighting. We're both of us done quite a lot. And so Joe, being Joe, was like, yeah, what we should do. And I was going, no, what we should do is like, and we were both a bit like, cops kind of going there, like, because it was basically they meet, they fight, this happens, but then we worked, I think, really well with each other. And the whole thing was shot on one shot.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first take. And we did this, and we were both completely done. And you've seen the film, haven't you? Yeah. And it's pretty brutal, and it feels very. I was very happy when I saw it back, because I think I'm buying it. But it was, it moves, and it's very, it's just us, and it's our fight. And it was a moving camera just all the time coming in and in. So the camera could have gone wrong, because it's quite a hard thing to manage and finish at the right time with the fight sequenced. And we did it, and we were all completely there. And at the end of it, say cut. And we're all like, oh yeah, and we were all like, well, yeah, that felt fucking good. That was good, wasn't it? That was great. And then the director came out and said that was amazing now. And we were like, oh, brilliant. So just one more, and we went, no, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. It won't be better. We can't do it. And then there was a scuffle around the monitor, and someone saying maybe we should just put a cut in at the end. And then they settled for that, and that's the only time we did it. And thank God, because I did a lot of fighting as Sir Jorah in Game of Thrones, but nothing was quite as full on as that little sequence.
Yeah, this was much more kind of brutal and what you would expect someone who doesn't have the experience but has like that adrenaline and that like hatred.
Exactly. And you have to be so careful with that stuff, because it can get really, really messy, and people can get, in the moment, the fuel can make people hurt each other. But Joe was really, really good. He was really, really good, and he had to do a lot of the reacting, and his reactions were brilliant, I think.
For sure. So you can see that brutal fight and Sasha's emotional character and her emotional connection in The Last Front, which is coming to theaters on August 9th, 2024. This is Iain Glen, Sasha Luss. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much.